Desperation for fame and recognition is nothing new. Before the internet existed, people still dreamed of being athletes, actors, rock stars, and models. But the ability to be seen worldwide with something that fits in your hand, that was bound to complicate things. Nowadays, kids want to be YouTubers, live streamers, influencers, and TikTokers, and whatever other term you can come up with for famous on the internet. And even when you don't want a social media presence, the world almost demands it. At one point, the movie we're talking about today even makes the statement,
if you're not documenting yourself, it's simple, you just don't exist.
And while it's not technically true, it kind of feels like that. And it's not all bad. I think there's a lot of good that can come from those aspirations. You can learn new skills, share things you love, gain access to things and experiences you never would have otherwise. I know that's very true for me, but there's definitely downsides. And one of the main ones is the lengths people will go to achieve some kind of internet fame. People will sacrifice relationships, friends, family. They'll one up the latest trends into literally illegal territory. Just this past week, these two idiots got arrested for bank robbery pranks that in one situation resulted in an Uber driver being held at gunpoint because a civilian called police. What absolute morons. We've seen people shoot loved ones, grievously injure themselves, injure other people. Hell, this dude cemented his head into a microwave. I'm sorry, that's a whole other level of stupid. I question whether or not you should be allowed to be left alone if you ever thought that was a good idea as an adult. People fake illnesses, adopt kids, film bodies, hurt animals, and a slew of other things, just for a taste of recognition or the desire to stay on top. And I get it, not the behavior, but that desire. That desire for likes and engagement. All that stuff feels great. But some people's entire identity and self-worth are linked to how many likes they can get online. And there's a definite level of desperation to try to achieve it that can lead to some horrifying possibility when your identity is based off of engagements. And in turn, social media can actually shift your entire identity. And that extreme level of depravity, the worst behavior you could possibly imagine, is exactly what Spree deals with. Now, this movie's probably not going to be for everyone. At times, it can get a bit messy. Some characters are going to feel like caricatures, but I think that's the point.
So influencers are like the iconic and also like caricatured version of like a normal person, right?
I was super happy to have caught Spree at Sundance, but I can't explain how awkward it was when the movie really started getting into the swing of things to have turned up with a Twitch cinch bag. I felt terribly called out. So Spree tells the story of Kurt Kunkel, or Kurt's World, played by Joe Keery of Stranger Things fame, and Kurt's a 23-year-old obsessed with going viral and achieving the influencer lifestyle. And he'll quite literally do anything to achieve it. As the movie spirals out, we're shown this absolute one-track mind and obsession he has with relevancy, the lack of empathy or any real emotion. He doesn't care who he hurts or what he does wrong along the way, as long as he has eyes watching. It premiered in the next category, which is supposed to be movies that take different approaches to filmmaking and storytelling. Spree fits here perfectly because it juggles a variety of camera angles, live stream feeds, various chats, and essentially makes the viewer feel like they're watching an actual live streamer. But it just as easily could have fit in the midnight category. If you like dark satirical comedies with violence and horror elements, it's definitely worth the watch. But now we're gonna go to Spoiler Town. So when the movie starts, there's this brief moment where you think he might actually be a large influencer until you look at some of the specifics on screen. Like right here where the live stream's trying to find him more viewers. He's kind of cringe, but it felt a lot like early YouTuber. He's doing a Draw My Life, which was typically something people did for larger milestones. And he literally tells us that he has an empire.
In 2009, I officially started Kurt's World, kicking off the empire you know today.
But he doesn't at all. He's the fake it till you make it, all talk, nothing to back it up like many out there. He's dipped his toes in a variety of trends from tech help, tutorials, reviews, vlogs, and shoes. Look, I've been there, I get it. So to start off, I thought I would do a PS3 collection. But for him, even with no success in 10 years of trying, he feels entitled to that fame. And he has a friend, Bobby, who is big online. I say friend, but it's a kid he used to babysit who he's definitely just trying to leech off. And when prepping for this role, Keery was specifically given a variety of cringe compilations and montages of small creators trying to make it big, and was just told to model his behavior off of the worst of that. And it shows. I get that you have to act the part and posture a little bit when you're first starting out, but some people do it better than others. And Kurt is not one of those people.
For every influencer we've heard of, there's like 100,000 people trying to do the exact same thing, very derivatively, quite poorly, and really desperate for the love and the likes. And that was kind of who Kurt is based on.
And then the hype influencer facade drops a little. Kurt actually acknowledges the issues he's having with the desperation of trying to make it, but it's okay because he's got a new plan to go viral, which he will, on April 12th. At first, it doesn't seem like anything super unique. He's moving into the world of ride share live streaming, specifically on the app Spree. But Kurt's gonna amp it up. And what seems like a slightly pathetic but lighthearted venture into the obsession of influencer lifestyles quickly turns into murder.
Hey, you should let them know that you're not gonna make it.
Does this water have like a taste to it?
And then we're gonna inject this right on the label because that way the passenger will never notice.
When this man started to choke after drinking water, I was like, oh my god, that was faster than I thought it was going to be. I don't even know what I was expecting the first time I saw this movie. I just know that it had Keery in it and that it was in the next category. I don't know if I was expecting murder, but I definitely wasn't expecting it that quickly. And there's a lot of moments in this where Kurt kind of feels like Lou from Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, and maybe like a little bit the Joker, but just way more pathetic, and he stays very upbeat the entire time. Because as he's killing most of these people, he's still treating the stream like a how-to, the whole thing circling around this idea of the lesson, which is essentially a how-to guide for going viral, even though he's never done that. So he genuinely believes he's helping people, but instead of recommending things like giveaways and mass following, which are just like the standard bad ways to try to grow a following, it's murder. And it only gets worse as it goes on.
No one should be able to tell what you're doing is real at first, because you want to get as many done undetected for maximum attention down the road. Hashtag the lesson.
And then he picks up a real influencer, a stand-up comedian named Jesse Adams, played by the lovely Sashira Zamata, who has almost 200,000 subscribers on Instagram. Out of everybody in this movie, she feels like the realest character. She doesn't imposter, she's just herself. And herself is sick of this shit. Because on this Spree social ride, she's dealing with, as she put it, the date rape, drug, and a person next to her and follow for follow Kurt bot. Because she even has to point out that Kurt basically talks like a Twitter bot regurgitating trend words.
Follow for follow, and if you post anything in my Spree, just make sure to tag me.
Oh, sir, are you a Twitter bot or is there a real live human boy in there?
And it's around here that things start to get more violent. It's very interesting that Kurt still seems to have some kind of morals and that, like, you don't be racist, you don't treat women poorly.
Because you're a total bitch.
Oh.
Out.
But there's a very big disconnect between that and his behavior. And maybe that's just because it's the socially acceptable viewpoint to have. His influencer pal, who definitely doesn't care about him, has just been pointing out everything he's been doing is boring and that some people just don't have it in them to be influencers because they're the influencees. For example, this kid Bobby is your typical fake prank, fake inspirational clout vlogger that literally has to spell out to Kurt why his very staged video was completely fake. Because Kurt's clearly the type of person to fall for that stuff, but all he sees it as is a sign to escalate. And oh yeah, Misha Barton is in this! I should rewatch the OC. Either way, she dies. So he starts getting jealous of Jesse because he doesn't understand why she's so popular and goes to find Bobby to get his shout out, and he completely trashes him. There's actually something really cool that they do in the filmmaking here that subverts expectations, and I really liked it. But yeah, Bobby basically just talks like he's a weirdo that feels like he's owed something because he used to babysit him, tells him that he has absolutely no chance of making it because of how pathetic he is, so Kurt stabs him. And because Bobby's faked so many things before, all of his viewers think that it's staged. And that's kind of what it can start feeling like in reality. It can get very hard to differentiate between what's real, what's fake, what's being manipulated. Because there's a really good chance that if something like this was really happening, most people would want to believe that it's fake. But at this point, he's just super stoked that people are finally watching him. It doesn't matter that they're all insulting him. It doesn't matter that he just killed somebody that he considered a friend, because people are only as good for him as what they can provide. And now he has his audience. And around here is where the chat really starts to kick in. Before this, it was mostly just Bobby insulting him, calling him boring and evil, but now there's a very large number of people watching him. You can honestly spend one entire watch through of this movie just looking at the comments and not what's actually happening. And as the night goes on, more people find the stream. Police are actively looking for a spree driver who's potentially murdering people, and the chat is really starting to egg him on. He ends up taking this famous DJ that his dad, Scream King himself, David Arquette, was supposed to play a set with to get tacos, and has this super weird interaction with a chick where he pretends to have made a sex tape to blow up because that's what happened with the DJ.
I could like make a sex tape at any time. I could feel like I'm making a sex tape tonight.
And you can just see how he jumps from one concept to the next, trying to manufacture what he believes people think is cool. Because the further it goes, the more the chat is encouraging his actions, feeding into it, becoming an active participant in his behavior. So after some absolutely wacky shit, he's on the run from the cops and literally shows a next level disconnect when he's driving through a group of homeless people.
Zero social media presence. They don't even care that the whole world doesn't even know that they exist.
So So at this point, the movie has done this cool perspective switch so you can kind of see what's going on with Jessie, because Kurt's been watching her live feed and is planning to go to her big show that night. And she can't catch a break because the guy that organizes the show is also an absolute sleaze. But Kurt's here and he's ready to make his big play, which is probably only amplified when she starts talking about how pathetic he is until she points out that she also used to be pathetic. Desperate for the recognition that so many people crave, and we're all being watched and judged and hated, and we love it, so she smashes her phone. I'm gonna be honest, Jessie, that was just not a good idea. There's no way for you to have known that, but here we are. But because of this, it switches up Kurt's plan because now he thinks they can be a power couple. So Spree is down because obviously they're looking for an active killer. And at this point, Kurt's crashed his car, so he gets a go-go driver. And this poor man is like,
so you know, I'm not the crazy driver driving around tonight.
I know.
It was a top tier moment, Keery. Top tier. And wow, look at Kurt, the fresh new go-go driver. And this is the crescendo of the movie. He picks her up, says they're gonna be an influencer power couple, that they should probably make a sex tape. She's obviously horrified. Guys, I just wanna let you know that this is not at all how you get a woman to touch you. She tries to kill him, he tries to kill her, they end up at his house, you find out that he had already killed his mom at the beginning of the movie, and then he kills his dad. And even now, there's people in the chat just waiting for Bobby to jump out and start laughing and be like, "Ha, pranked you, bros," because they still can't believe it's real. So after a squabble between the two, we get the very fitting end. Kurt getting killed with a cell phone. That's meta. So he's dead, and she obviously blows up online even more as a result. And even though it ends in a way that shows that some people definitely became obsessed with his actions after the fact, he still just comes across as a pathetic loser in the movie. Like, he's actively killing people, and he's still not as menacing as Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler. And this is something that both the director Eugene Kotlyarenko and Joe Keery really wanted to ensure happened. Kurt stays a loser the entire time. There isn't this moment of personal triumph like you get with the Joker or Lou in Nightcrawler. It's the rest of the world that treats it irresponsibly.
I'm so happy we didn't do that. So happy that this character maintained this like pathetic vibe.
Everyone still thinks he's pathetic even if they're going over his actions. But it's the depraved side of the internet that takes it to that next level, and the people that are just morbidly curious. By the end, we find out that this movie was actually made by somebody on 4chan who just compiled all of his videos and the footage from the live stream to document all the actions and essentially turn them into a meme movement. Because that's kind of the world we live in. Kotlyarenko hopes that at the end of the day, this movie can be a conversation starter on how we glorify fame and how people glorify horrific actions. Will that ever stop? Probably not, but sometimes it's nice to have it exaggerated and thrown back into your face. Because even if it doesn't always reach this extreme, there are so many different cases where it does just go too far. Overall, I really enjoyed this film, but you guys know that I like these kind of like weird, over-the-top, violent, satirical movies and thrillers and horrors. And where I'm largely from that sphere, I typically stream 4 to 5 nights a week, and obviously I'm very present on YouTube. And that journey's really been a solid 5-year thing for me that's only started paying off in like the last 8 months. So obviously a lot of the things that this movie is dealing with hit very personally. I also really love movies that have been using screen capture as a way to tell stories. And Spree really amped that up to the next level with all the camera angles and the chats, live stream feeds, and it was all really well handled. I can only imagine how much went into actively shooting this movie. If you like searching or even the Unfriended movies, this is gonna feel very reminiscent of that. Except in this scenario, it really has the ability to take you from passive movie watcher to feeling like you're actively involved in a live stream. So that is gonna do it for my video on Spree. If you guys have managed to catch it yet, let me know what you're thinking down below. If you haven't, let me know if you're planning to. I get that this was getting like a fair amount of lukewarm reviews, but I thought it was fun. I think it's worth the watch. It was one of the ones I was pretty excited about coming out of Sundance. Thank you as always to my Patreon supporters. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you're into that kind of thing. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and we'll catch you all later.